Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Goodness John, and today we're going to be making this little baby girl skater dress. So these are the measurements we'll be using. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut out the flare part of the dress. So I folded this fabric into a square on fold. So I folded it twice and then folded it again. To cut out the flare, I'm going to add the allowance. So my waist measurement is 22 plus 2 inches allowance, which is 24. So I'm going to that by 4. Divided by 4 is 6. So I'm just trying to curve my tape around this to see where I'll get 6 inches around the curve. So I found that at 3.5 inches from the top. So I'll just measure that 3.5 all the way, like it's a semicircle. I'll just measure that all through. And when I measure around this curve, it should give me 6 inches. That's 6 times 4 is 24. So that's the measurement I need. From the 3.5 inches, which is the waist, I would measure the length of the sleeve. So the length is the full length subtracted by the waist length of the dress. The waist length is 8 inches. The full length is 20 inches. So that is 12 inches. So from there I'll mark 20. I'll mark the 12 inches all the way from the waist to 12 inches all the way to make another quarter circle curve. So now we're going to have quarter circle. So I'm going to cut out the parts that I've marked, the bottom and the waist. So once you open this up, you're going to have a full circle. This full circle is what we'll be joining to the top of the dress to make a full dress. So after I've cut this out, I'll just split one side open. And that's going to be my zip allowance. So that'll be the back joining of the clothes. Okay, so this is my full circle. Next, I'm going to cut the upper body. So you have to ensure that the fabric you have is enough to cut the upper body. So I've folded this in two and folded it again, leaving 1 inch allowance for the zip allowance. So the top part is the front and the down part is the back. So the down part I've left 1 inch allowance for zip, and then the top part I've measured the measurements. So the chest measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inch allowance. So it's 5.5 plus 2 inches, that's 7.5. The first body measurement I will apply is the shoulder. So the shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch allowance, which is 5. So my shoulder is 9 divided by 2, 4.5 plus half, which is 5. So at the neck, I would go in by 2.5 and go down by 2.5. So once I mark that for the front, so the top piece is the front. Once I mark that, I'll connect it to join the curve together. So this is my neck curve, and then for the back is the piece underneath, so it's the back is bigger by 1 inch allowance. So I'm going to go down by 1 inch depth and then connect that. So for the shoulder slope, I'm going to go down by 1 inch and connect that to the neckline. After drawing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the armhole length. So the armholes, I will mark that 4 inches from the 1 inch slope, and then I would mark at the armhole length. I would mark the shoulder measurement. Shoulder is 5, so that I can get the armhole curve. So I'll just connect this together to get the armhole curve, just a slight armhole curve. I'll connect that. So once I get the armhole curve, I'll measure the half length. So my half length is 8 inches plus 1 inch allowance, which is 9. So I'll just mark that at 9 and then draw a straight line to connect it. So for the waistline is 22 inches. This is for a 1 year old. So most of the time their waist length and chest length are the same measurement. So I already cut my waist length is 22 inches. So it's the same measurement as the chest line. And I folded my material according to the chest line. So it's 5.5 inches, which is it is 22 divided by 4, which is 5.5, plus the 2 inches zip allowance, so it's 7.5. Then for my zip allowance for the back, it is 1 inch. So I cut out the front and the back together. The front is the piece on top and the back is a piece underneath. Next, I'll cut out the back curve out first, and then after I've cut out the back curve out, I would lift the front and then cut out the front curve. So you have to be careful so you don't cut out the back and the front using the measurement of the front because the front is deeper than the back measurement. So I've cut out the back. So this is the front. I'll just trace the measurements for the front piece. And that's it for the upper piece. So the next thing I'll cut out is the sleeve. It's going to be a little sleeve, so I just use the pieces I have left. So I'm just drawing out the shape of the sleeve. It's a little long at the top because I want to pleat it in. So I want it to be a puff sleeve. So I've used measurements bigger than the 1 year old measurement. It's 5 inches length, 6 inches long plus allowance, that's 6 inches, and then 5 inches wide. And then I've curved it to the sleeve curve, and I'm going to pleat that in so that I have a balloon sleeve. Okay, so this is all my pieces. The top piece, I've cut out the lining for every one of them. Next, I'll start working on the bottom piece, so the skirt part of the dress. So because I want it a bit fuller, I'm using this hard net. Your hard net should be shorter than the main skirt. So I'm cutting out my hard net. I This net is by 60, so I'm just cutting multiple pieces so I can join them together so I can have like a really long net and pleat it together. So I've cut out about five by 60 of it. So after I finish cutting it all up, I'm going to join them all together. After cutting up all my pieces, I had 232 inches all together. So I'm going to join it together to make one long piece and then sew 2 lines of thread for the gather. So I'm using the longest stitch to gather it up. So after I finish sewing that from the beginning to the end of the fabric, I'll just pull this to make gathers. So I'll be pulling it gently. I'll hold both threads and then pull gently. You have to pull and push it gently because it could cut. If it cuts, you'd have to start all over again. So you have to be really careful when you're pulling the gathers. So I've gathered it all up. So I'll start gathering from the other side. So as I gather, I would measure. Once it looks like it's coming to the measurement I want, I keep measuring to ensure it doesn't go beyond my waist length, so the length for the flay. And if it's above, then I keep pulling. So once I have the measurement I want, I would use my hand to arrange the gathers just so it's balanced, just make sure everything is looking balanced. So once I'm done and I'm happy with the way the gathers looks, I'll put that aside and start working on the bodice. To sew the bodice, I'll take the back piece, the two pieces, and then mark the zip allowance, which is 1 inch all the way. So I'll use the long stitch to join the two pieces together. I'll do that for the main fabric and I'll do that for the lining as well. So I'll just place them together, mark 1 inch, which is the zip allowance all through. And once I've gotten the 1 inch line across, I'll join that together. So I just make it one piece with the running stitch, and then after I've joined it with the running stitch, I'll use the pressing iron to iron that open and iron the right side as well. So I'll do the same thing for the lining. So after doing that, I'll join the back and the front together by the shoulder. After joining it, I'll iron that open. Whatever I'm doing for the lining, I'm doing for the main fabric. So I'll join the back and the front. Now to join the sides together, I'll measure across the chest and then it's at 11. So I'll just count how much I have left. So it's 4.5. It's 3.5. So I'll take the 3.5 and then divide it into to add it on both sides. So I put 2 inches allowance, right? But sometimes when you sew, once you cut a few inches or a few pieces are cut out, so you have to ensure that you're measuring after when you're ready to join, you ensure you're measuring just so that your measurement is accurate. So I've taken that measurement on the waist and on the chest and I'm then joining together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew on this line to make it one full bodice. So this is going to be my complete bodice. This I'm doing for this, I'm going to do it for the lining as well. So we're sewing individually because we want a very neat finishing for the clothes. So you don't have any threads, anything making it uncomfortable for the baby. You want the inside look very neat, otherwise it wouldn't be comfortable for the baby. So I'm going to join this together for the lining, and then sew for the main fabric and sew for the lining. Basically, we're making two dresses and joining them together. Next, I'll take the hard net I've prepared, I'll gather together and then join it to the flay by the waist to make it um one fabric. So I'll just make join the waist and the gathers together. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You have to be gentle when doing this so that it doesn't shift, the gathers doesn't shift out and become excess. So I've joined it together. So now I'm going to couple the top to the bottom of the main fabric. I've opened up the sewing allowance I did initially, and then I'm going to join from side to side. So I've joined this, the front, the up and the bottom. Next, I'm going to do that for the lining. So I open up the zip allowance and then couple the bottom and the top to make it a dress. So as you can see, I'm making two dresses. The lining is one dress, a separate dress, and the top, the main fabric is a separate dress. So now this is my zip allowance. My zip is going to start at 4 inches from the flay from the bottom, and I'll mark this as well. So at that 4 inches, these 4 inches I'm marking, I'll sew the normal stitch just to close it and lock it at the bottom. So I'll just close that, the dress. So I'll lock it for the front. For the lining, I already sewn that and ironed it. And then for the main fabric, next I'm going to fold the bottom for the lining and for the main fabric. Afterwards, I'm going to fix the zip on the main fabric, just on the main fabric. So once I fix the zip, then I'll couple the main fabric and the lining by the neck. So I'll just open up the zip and open the zip allowance for the lining and then join it together from the neck. So I'll just join it all the way straight around the neck, just like I'm doing now. So after I've sewn that together, I'll use my scissors to make little cuts so that it's easy for it to turn. After making the little cut, I'll turn it to the right side and top stitch it around the neck. Next, I'll turn it inside and then I'll sew the zips to get the lining and the main cloth on the zip allowance together. So I'll just join it together so I seal it and it has a neat finish. I'll take the zip allowance for the lining and the main fabric, join them together and then sew on the line I sewed the zip on, just to seal that closed. We'll be turning the fabric, the cloth from the underneath, so I can sew both sides of the zip, the other lining side, this side and the other side as well. So after sewing the left side, I'll turn it to the other side to sew the right side. Basically, I'm just trying to seal the zip so the zip allowance is clean. So this is what it looks like. So next, the sleeves. Because I'm going to do rubber, I wanted a balloon sleeve. I've cut out 5-inch rubber and then I'll fold this. This is where the rubber is going to be, and then I'm going to sew the elastic. Sorry, sew the elastic in that allowance there, and then so it's going to fold the fabric up. So I just sewn it for both sides. So the next thing I'm going to do is to just close, sew that side straight, just to join the sleeve. After I've sewn it straight, then I'm ready to attach it to the dress. So I'll be attaching the sleeve from the armhole. I'll join the sleeve to the main fabric from the armhole, and then so when I get to 1 inch close to the shoulder, I'll start to pleat it until I get to the midpoint of the shoulder. I hope this video has been helpful and easy to follow. If you have any questions, drop in the comment section and I'll be able to answer your questions. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post a new video. So I'm just going to add a little bow in front and a rope to tie at the back just so it doesn't look plain. I hope this video has been helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post a new video. Thank you all for watching and see you in my next video.